With Diablo 2 Resurrected releasing soon, there's a lot of discussion on what builds people should start with and what classes to avoid. This is a complicated issue since it depends on the person's individual preferences and experiences. Today though, we're going to be looking at the best class for a player who is returning to Diablo 2 or who is seasoned with other action RPGs, with the sole goal of building up equipment to let you have more freedom with that particular build as well as other classes. Before we jump right in on that though, I do want to give a note to those who are new to the genre or new to the game, or just unsure about Diablo 2, and that you should choose which class looks the most interesting to you regardless of what advice is given, and make your way through normal. After that, you can worry about optimizing for the best items or the strongest builds, because remember that enjoyment should come first, and if you're curious about any individual class, like how you want to choose these, both myself as well as other creators have released multiple videos for each one to help you out. Just go watch whoever's videos you enjoy the most, since many of the other active creators are awesome folks deserving of your support too, and each have different perspectives than mine. That out of the way, let's jump on in. Generally speaking, when we're talking about the best starter classes, a lot of factors come into play, but the one factor that settled me on the class for this specific video with the criteria I already stated was how quickly the character can be used to ramp up and get your other characters online to mix up your high-end roster. And that is going to be, very obviously, the Sorceress, for one skill and one skill only: Teleport. This allows all of her variants to efficiently farm one area quite efficiently, regardless of her other skills, and that's Lower Kurast, as it is one of the best ways to get early high runes. In single player with the /players command, and in multiplayer by teleport spamming through in XP games to find the campfires, because usually you'll have 8 players in those. And it also allows her to specifically boss hunt act bosses effectively as well, letting her teleport past threats quickly for just focusing on the boss itself to build up items of various qualities. Now you may have noticed the title of this video said character, not class, so we're of course going to dive a little bit further down into this, and this is where you'll see a lot of opinions diverge, especially since people favor farming different areas. 3 big build themes you're going to come up with if you're looking into Sorceress builds for farming are the Lightning Sorceress, the Blizzard Sorceress, and the Meteorb Sorceress, sometimes also called the Fireball Orb Sorceress. All 3 can be quite effective, but have different amounts of flexibility and setup costs to really get rolling. With optimal gear, all 3 are quite powerful, and the Lightning Sorceress specifically is insanely good at farming level 85 areas, with all its points geared towards boosting lightning and chain lightning, and lightning resist being super easy to break, which is why it's great for projects such as the Holy Grail. But as you start to go cheaper with gear, you start to run into hurdles to their success. Higher, faster cast rate is needed with this build than for the other builds due to the longer cast times of its primary spells, lightning and chain lightning as mentioned, and being mono elemental cuts you off of farming some areas until you get conviction or lower resist sources. And while it's capable of boss farming, it's nowhere near as fast as the other 2 builds for this particular job. This build would be a good one to lean towards after you get some better gear and have some tokens to respec freely, but as far as starting focus, probably not. This is the build to use after you've gotten okay gear if you still want to just farm level 85 areas. Next up is the fastest boss killer of this group, the Blizzard Sorceress, who can also farm level 85 areas, albeit in a slightly less diverse way than the Lightning Sorceress, but still enough that it's fine. As with the Lightning Sorceress, the Blizzard Sorceress is all about the synergies and boosting Blizzard and your choice of Ice Blast or Glacial Spike, depending on your mana situation. While a bit more restricted when it comes to farming level 85 areas, she more than makes up for it in the ability to easily destroy any act boss very quickly. Unlike the Lightning Sorceress, Cold is in general a bit harder to break because a lot of the cold immunes are higher values than the lightning immunes, so you'll be a bit more restricted in what you can kill until you get a stronger mercenary or another source of, well, alternate damage. Blizzard Sorceresses are nice in that the main use of the faster cast is just support functions like teleport, your spam spell, and static, since Blizzard itself does have a cooldown, so faster cast only reduces the chance of interruption. This is the build to use if you're wanting to farm act bosses specifically, and after you get some methods of breaking resists, things like the Council are an easy farm for this as well. Third is the Meteorb or Fireball Orb Sorceress. They're kind of the same thing since the skill layout is pretty much the same, with points heavily invested in the Chosen Fire skill and its synergies, while usually just giving Orb a solid 20 points and 1 in Mastery. While slower farming most things except for, say, Duriel and Andariel, this type of Sorceress is the most flexible early on, easily able to farm any location you want fairly effectively, just not as quickly since Fire is fairly reliably resisted but high damage, and Frozen Orb being a bit weaker than Blizzard, but still sufficiently dangerous, especially once you learn how to make it flourish where you want. So this is the build to lean into if you're either unsure about where you want to farm, or if you want to be able to mix up where you farm rather frequently. Out of all of these, I generally favor the third because it's the most forgiving and flexible, but if you know you're going to just go for act bosses, then Blizzard can be a solid beast as well, and I would likely wait until later to get into the lightning focused builds just because of the slightly higher gear requirements to get into the groove of farming. Now, if you're going to do cows for, say, runes and stuff like that, then honestly, all of these will perform fairly well because cows are, well, relatively easy to kill. Lightning does have a nice thing here where you will not be killing the Cow King though, because, well, he's lightning immune. Just don't break that immunity and you'll be fine. So, a lot of things to consider, but I usually do lean towards the third one. Which one do you lean towards?